Absolute value equations. Absolute value, by definition, is the distance from zero. Distance is always positive. Let's say that you're telling your parents that you're going to your friend's house. They live 5 blocks away. It doesn't matter which way 5 blocks is, north, south, east, west, it's still 5 blocks, okay? Distance is always positive. Therefore, absolute value is going to make your answer, when you take it out of the absolute value, positive. And then one of the things that we have to do whenever we're solving these problems is checking for what's called extraneous solutions. An extraneous solution is a solution that comes out algebraically, but it actually makes no sense. So let's say that when you're solving the problem, you're left with the absolute value of x is equal to -3. There is no way the absolute value of any number is going to equal -3, because we just said that absolute value is the distance from zero, therefore distance is always positive, and absolute value always has to be positive, okay? So let's try an example. Let's say that we have to solve the absolute value of x minus 3 is equal to 10. Well, in reality, what's inside of the absolute value could be positive 10 or it could be negative 10. Since when I take out the absolute value of negative 10 is positive 10. For that reason, when you are solving absolute value equations, you're going to have to set up two problems. The first problem is going to be exactly what you already see. So here x minus 3 is equal to 10. The second problem is going to be x minus 3 is equal to -10, okay? So now I solve them. Add 3 to both sides. I get x is equal to 13. Add 3 to both sides. I get x is equal to -7. And what we want to do now is substitute back into the equation to check to see if it works. So if I plug in 13 minus 3, means the absolute value of 10, which is 10. So yes, it works. And if I try -7, I get the absolute value of -7 minus 3, which is the absolute value of -10, and the absolute value of -10 is positive 10. So yes, they both work. Number 1, directions. Solve and check for extraneous solutions. Okay, so in this particular case, we have absolute value once again. One of the things that I can do is simplify the problem and isolate the absolute value before I split them up into two parts. So first, I'm going to add 1 to both sides. I get 3 times the absolute value of x plus 2 is equal to 9. I'm going to go ahead and divide by 3, and I'm allowed to do that because the 3 is not an absolute value right now. So I divide by 3, and I'm left with the absolute value of x plus 2 is equal to 3. Once I've isolated the absolute value, I can now go ahead and set up two problems. The first problem is going to say x plus 2 equals 3, just as I see it here. And the second one is going to say x plus 2 is equal to -3. So I subtract 2, I get x is equal to 1. And I subtract 2, and I get x is equal to -5. So those are my two answers right now. Remember that we want to check for extraneous solutions to make sure both of them work. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute the 1 first. 3 times the absolute value of 1 plus 2 close absolute value minus 1 equals 8. That's what we're trying to determine, if in fact it does equal 8. 1 plus 2 is 3. The absolute value of 3 is just 3, so this means 3 times 3. And that is 9 minus 1, which does equal 8. So yes, the 1 works. Let's go ahead and plug in -5. 3, absolute value of -5 plus 2, close absolute value minus 1. I'm trying to determine if that's going to equal 8. So -5 plus 2 is going to be -3. But then the absolute value of -3 is positive 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And 9 minus 1 does equal 8. So yes, in this case, both of these answers work. So my solutions are -5 and 1. Let's try another problem. In this case, I have the absolute value of 3x plus 2 equals 4x plus 5. I actually already have the absolute value isolated, which means I can go ahead and write out my two separate problems already. So I'm going to write 3x plus 2 is equal to 4x plus 5 in the first one, In the second one, I'm going to write 3x plus 2 equals negative 4x plus 5. So I'm going to work with the first one on the left. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 3x from both sides. I get 2 is equal to x plus 5. Take away 5. So I'm left with x is equal to negative 3. So this is my first solution. And the second one, remember that because it could also equal negative, that is exactly why I put the negative in front. So let's go ahead and distribute that minus first. 3x plus 2 equals negative 4x minus 5. I'm going to add 4x to both sides. I get 7x plus 2 is equal to negative 5. Take away 2. 7x is equal to negative 7. When I divide by 7, x is equal to negative 1. So these are my two answers. So far, these are my two answers. I need to go back and check to see, just to make sure that I don't have any extraneous solutions. Let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to start with negative 3 and we're going to substitute it. I get the absolute value of 3 times negative 3 plus 2 in absolute value, and I'm going to check to see if that's equal to 4 times negative 3 plus 5. Notice that when we substitute, you always go back to the original problem and you substitute there. So on the left-hand side of the equal sign, 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. I have negative 9 plus 2, that is an absolute value, is equal to negative 12 plus 5. So negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7 in absolute value is equal to negative 12 plus 5 is negative 7. But the absolute value of negative 7 is positive 7, and positive 7 does not equal negative 7. So there we have the first case of an extraneous solution. That means that I have to throw out x equals negative 3 because it doesn't work. Let's see what happens when I substitute negative 1. So now I'm going to get 3 times negative 1 plus 2 in absolute value is equal to 4 times negative 1 plus 5. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. So I have the absolute value of negative 3 plus 2, and this equals negative 4 plus 5. Negative 3 plus 2, the absolute value of negative 1 is equal to 1, and here the absolute value of 1 is 1. So this one does work. So x equals negative 1 is my only solution. Hope you found this video helpful. Remember to subscribe to my channel for more help with math so that you can say, yes, I can do math with confidence. Until next time, thanks for watching.